Yeah, so I'm in a wheelchair. I don't know if you noticed. So I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I have strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think? I've no doubts in regards to this witness's testimony. It was impossible for him to lift the bust and stick himself out far enough to look. Not to mention that he could not have known the location of the ringmaster's head. A single false step would have led to even more severe injuries. That's what I was thinking. What is your opinion on the matter, Mr. Wright? I think he's lying. I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination. He's simply stalling. It's shameful, really. I can't let her get to me. I've got to focus. I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I'm not going to press these, I just want to look at them all real quick. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. Do we have anything that we could use that would have been able to prove that? Or disprove that, I should say. Oh, I didn't mean to present that right off. I was trying to look at that. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, but I can see nothing faulty. We're gonna have to save, because we're gonna run out of points before too long. Okay, looking out the window would have been impossible. That's what I wanted to do. I don't know if I can really disprove that right off. Maybe I need to press it and then there's something I can get from it, perhaps? There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. It makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head. I think that's where we're going to have to press on. Maybe the box... I don't know if we know how the box got there. Maybe the box was there ahead of time? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. It would have been unrealistic for me to drop the bust at him. Acker is strong enough to lift up the bust. The main problem is how we could have aimed for the ringmaster's head. I wonder if he used some kind of tool to aim for the ringmaster. That's the ticket, Nick. Show him what you've got. I have to be careful. I have to find something that fits perfectly with the case. I don't remember us finding any sort of tool. Maybe we overlooked something. Some kind of tool. Like a mirror of some sort, maybe? Maybe if he left something at the crime scene that would have, you know, gotten his attention and he would have walked over to it to see what it was. I would say it's either the box or it's the hat. Let's save. Let's press him first and see what happens. Why do you say it would be impossible? Allow me to explain. You accept that if I was carrying the bust, I couldn't see out below the window. Thus, there's no way that I would know the location of the ringmaster's head. Well, I suppose you've got a point. Hey, Nick. Huh? What if you turned things around? Maybe if you think it's sort of like this. If he knew the location of the ringmaster's head, then he could drop the bust. It does make sense. If only I could prove somehow that Acro knew the location of the ringmaster's head without looking down. I think I've already explained things sufficiently. Let's just see if I was right. I'm not sure. Every time I press Shift Tab, it keeps scrolling. Let's see. Wooden box, that makes it impossible. So it was the wooden box. I just don't want to end up losing more points, you know? It's kind of tedious to have to reload my save and then get back to the point and all that. Acro, you didn't really need to lean out of the window, did you? What are you driving at, Mr. Wright? You already knew ahead of time where the ringmaster's head was going to be. Quite precisely, I may add. Objection! Your silly hinting at things is pointless, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Enough stalling. How about you show us some evidence? But I did such a good job hinting. Yes. Hurry up and explain things, Mr. Wright. Maybe you should take a look at this. The key point here is the wooden box. The same wooden box that the victim was found hunched over. The same. The question is, who placed the wooden box here? Who? When Ben and company saw the ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box. Which means that this wooden box was already placed at the scene of the crime. I have to admit that your theory makes a lot of sense. The moment that the bust came falling down was exactly the same moment that the ringmaster lifted up this wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear. You mean, if the bust were to fall upon the point marked out by the wooden box, there would be no way that it could miss the head of the victim. No! Order! This is unbelievable! Finally, some of these loose ends are starting to tie themselves up. Now, I just gotta keep going. And there's only one way to go from here. Forward. So, the next question I have is, who placed that wooden box at the scene? It was Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, and then all he had to do was lower it down. Ow! Allow me to whip some... Mr. Phoenix Wright. Ow! The ringmaster's head could have been anywhere when he lifted the box. That's why the box was so specially made. Specially made? Indeed. It had the most peculiar feature. I mean, all of this is somewhat peculiar, but I would say the weight, probably. Or maybe the contents. We'll give it another shot. See what happens. The box has a remarkable weight. Weight?
According to the court record, it weighs 20 pounds.
Just to lift up this wooden box would have required...
Oh, I see. One would have to squat down and lift it up with their body, wouldn't you say?
That's exactly what I was trying to point out. The box is also very large.
The box also has carrying handles on either side, doesn't it?
That is correct. To lift up the box, you'd have to squat down. Which means that no matter who you are, your head would be in approximately the same place. Fool! This is my bird. There he goes again. Does he even bother to listen to me anymore? I've heard what you've had to say. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills.
You! Did you do it? Did you place this wooden box in the plaza?
Mr. Wright may have a vivid imagination, but I could never have done what he's proposing. What? Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of Max's bust? Yes. Of course I remember. It was on top of the table in the cafeteria.
And what happened to it?
I'd like you to remember one important fact, Mr. Wright. I could not possibly leave the lodging house by myself. That means... You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bust from my room. However, how would I have gotten the bust from the cafeteria to my room? That's right, he's picking on the wheelchair guy again. You see, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Explain that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. Tell us exactly how the witness would have carried the bust from the cafeteria. Yep, we definitely have a problem here. But this is no place to get perplexed. I've got to get my wits about me and prove how things happened once and for all.
All right, Mr. Wright. Let's hear your explanation. How did the witness get the bust from the cafeteria back to his room?
I was thinking some kind of like pulley system. Could a monkey carry a bust? You know what? Honestly. I'm gonna try it. Let's try the monkey. I don't know.
Take that!
A monkey?
Everyone knows money. He loves shiny objects of any size.
Oh, like when he stole the ventriloquist ring.
So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust? Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey stole it on his own, and then brought it back home. I guess there were large objects like tubas and stuff like that, I think. But I would imagine the tuba is much lighter than the bust. Home! Money lives in Acro's room.
Acro's room!
Objection!
But the bust was bronze, wasn't it? Bronze isn't all that shiny.
Objection!
Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes and read the court record.
My, those are some nice cards he's holding.
Yes, and they're made of platinum, which is very shiny. Gwa! Acro. Money is a strong monkey, right? It'd be easy for him to bring the bust back to your room. If he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new
Order! Order! I said order! Miss Von Karma? Where is the bust in question at this moment?
I don't know. We're searching for it as we speak.
This is a rather strange turn of events. But let's say that the monkey had not stolen the bust. What would have happened then?
Well, in that event, something else would have been used as a murder weapon. Wait. Then you mean this bust was the murder weapon purely by accident? It's possible. Maybe Akro saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. Anyways, I think we've more than proven one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Akro was the murderer. Moron! Fuck!
Mr. Wright's argument was so circular. I'm still a bit dizzy. However, his argument does hold water. There's no denying that.
Ow! Don't be so flamboozled. Especially by this fraud of an attorney. Fraud? You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright. And what is that? You should know. You forgot that your fraud of a magical client was spotted at the scene of the crime. There's no reason to doubt the clown's testimony.
That's true. How do you respond to that, Mr. Wright?
Nick, don't let her beat you down. I won't. This is my chance to turn this trial around. When the murder occurred, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry, and the other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Who was the murderer the clown saw? I am going to guess it was also the bust. Wearing like a cape or something, you know?
Take that!
I should have saved. He saw Max ow! I asked who was the other person Mo saw in the scene. That evidence has nothing to do with the question.
Objection!
Oh, let's learn how to say that one. Hold on a second. Okay, so it's actually a lot easier than I thought. Au contraire, mon frère. It does indeed have something to do with the question. Mo said that he saw Max's silhouette. But he did not actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw.
How is that possible?
It's simple, really. What Mo actually saw that night was Max's bust.
Objection!
What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? The silhouette he saw was wearing a cloak.
Objection!
There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to the bust. It would be easy to hang one off the cards in the bust's hands. Idiot! Who in their right mind would put a cloak on a bust? It doesn't matter who put it on the bust.
Just wait a minute now, Mr. Wright. Who puts a cloak on a bust? That question is of the utmost importance to this case, don't you agree?
He caught me.
So let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust?
Didn't the ringmaster put on the cloak? That would be interesting if Russell Berry did it himself, though that seems unlikely. I'm not sure. Let's try it.
Take that!
Fool! Him?
You were saying it was the victim himself, Russell Berry.
That's what I'm saying. The victim himself placed the cloak on the bust? Placed the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it.
And what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright?
Explain yourself. Nick, do you really have a handle on all of this? I'm fine, Maya. I'm finally putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyway. Alright, so you want to know what really happened that night? Let's step back in time. Akira used a rope to lower the wooden box into the scene. Then he attached that rope to the bust, and dangled the bust out of his bedroom window directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room, and went to the scene. Of course, at the time, the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than a ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben and Trillo. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. And that's when Akira took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. At the very instant that the bust hit the victim, alright then. You wait just a second there, Mr. Phoenix Wright. As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true. It can't be. It's still a little early to be getting upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet. What? I like this, the way that the cloak lifts onto him. The impact of the bust and the victim threw the cloak up, which snagged onto the bust. That impact also caused the sound a witness heard, prompting him to take a look. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Moe Curls, the clown. When Moe looked out his window, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Akira naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Moe saw the bust being raised with the cloak dangling on it. Primarily because, in his wheelchair, he couldn't see out his window. So he just kept pulling the bust up. Whoop! Whoop! And that is how the magical murderer disappearing into the sky came to be.
Wow, that's oddly convenient, Mr. Wright.
So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off is the one person who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Akira, it could only have been you. Goodbye, Bird. Akira's been playing mind games with all of us. He sure has. But he's come to the end of his rope now. Get it? Because he used the rope to do the murder? So... what now? You've graced us with a long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove your fairy tale is true? Oh, the accent's getting worse.
Evidence?
In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and I was gonna say, and my whip, and she already said it. And the power of my whip.
Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence?
Nick, they say they want evidence. I just explained how there could only be one possible murder method. there's still something unusual about Moe's eyewitness account. Unusual? A contradiction, actually. Okay then, use that and get out of this jam.
That's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed, Mr. Wright. Present some evidence to the court that backs your claims. I want hard proof that you have unraveled the trick to this magic case.
What was Moe's contradiction? Is that the Max G promo poster, I think? I already did Russell Berry, so I think it's a Max G promo poster. Would it be the symbols or something? I don't know.
Take that!
The problem is Max's 3 symbols. You know, the silk hat, the cloak, and the white roses.
Your symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings.
Yesterday, there were 2 contradictions in Moe's testimony. The silk hat was one, the white roses were the other. But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions. You fool! Do you ever shut up? Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Moe said yesterday. He testified that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Moe saw was actually the bust's.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. If you look at it that way, then he did see the silk hat. Well, sort of.
Objection!
Fine, you've got one. But what about the other contradiction?
The other contradiction.
Remember what that ventriloquist said in court? He said that he witnessed white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown said that there were no white roses. I'd like to see you try and explain that one away. Can you do it, Nick? Of course. I can explain all of it. What was that? Please recall the instant when the cloak snagged onto the bust. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, what happened to the white roses? Bonk. Yeah, they were on his front side. Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged into the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust. Ah! Which explains why Moe didn't see them. So here's my problem, right? I think we're assuming we're looking at a silhouette of Max again, which is why it would make sense that seeing the bust from the backside, even though the cloak was the wrong way around, you couldn't really tell because it's a silhouette. That makes sense. If it was a silhouette, you probably also wouldn't have seen the roses, regardless. I think. Anyway, the white roses were not visible because they were on the backside of the bust.
Order! Order! This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's just keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads.
Let's do this, Nick. Then maybe Von Karma will finally throw in the towel. Well, so much for that theory. Mr. Wright, do you mind? What is it? You took the time to research our circus, didn't you? Well, yes, I did. Is there something making you think that I didn't? If you did, then maybe you'd understand why I think you're off track. Why is that? Motive. This witness feels an incredible debt of gratitude towards the ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Well, I mean, it's his brother, right? He's pretty upset about the brother thing. Thus, there's absolutely no way someone like this would kill the ringmaster. Your Honor, I'd like you to hear Acro's story. Learn about his relationship with the ringmaster and his life up until now. What do we do? There's no doubting that Acro deeply respected the ringmaster. Acro's motive?
It seems that this case isn't over yet. Very well. However, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I need a snack. I will listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court will now take a 10-minute recess. I need a granola bar. I'm very hungry. And a little bit thirsty too. They don't allow water bottles in my courtroom. They say they'll spill and cause an awful mess.
Alright. So, let me see. So we are through all of the part 1 trial. There's going to be a part 2 that I assume is going to take about the same amount of time, about an hour or so, a little over an hour. You know what? I'm going to finish it up. I do need to grab some more water, though. I am almost out, so we're going to take a quick break ourselves, and I will be right back with you guys.